Mr. Andy Demi, how are you, sir?
Good, mate. How are you? What's going on?
Tickety boo, tickety boo. I'm very good. Looking forward to jumping into the cryptos. Before we go any further, we are streaming live on Facebook. We're streaming live on YouTube, and we're streaming live on a new platform called Share Vision. So go and check that one out. Very exciting things that we're hearing about that. Today is our crypto show, talking all things crypto like a pro with our professional resident trader, Mr. Andy Demi. Mate, there is so much going on in cryptos. Let's just I know we want to give people a bit of time to kind of come in. So we can do a couple of shout outs. We got Nick. Hello, lads. Good to have you with us. Did you type that? Because I didn't type that. That's from the London Trading Institute.
No, that's the AI robot.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
I was telling you
less said about that one then. And also we've got Slav in the house, all representing the YouTube crew. If you're new and you're on Share Vision, why don't you give us a comment so that we can check and see if the platform's working, and who's going to be the first person to do a comment inside our Facebook group, which if you're new to the group, maybe you're just tuning in on YouTube, as quite a lot of people do. Maybe you don't agree with Facebook, maybe you do, but we are giving a ton of information in our private group. There's no cost to it, but just go and apply to the group, which is the Crypto and FX Traders Club. We'll approve you straight away, and there will be a ton of information and all-round great people. Gary has jumped in first on the Facebook crew. Glad to have you with us, Gary. So, as usual, give us a rundown from your perspective as a professional trader. How have the last 7 days been for you? And give us a top-line overview of what you're anticipating for the next 7 days. Because I have to say, this is my first November in the crypto sphere, and I've heard big things that crypto statistically is the biggest month for explosive gains. So we'll get to that in a minute, but just tell us from your point of view how you're seeing the markets, how you're interpreting the data, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean the sort of, when you look at November's and December's, if you actually look at the stats over the last few years, it's not exactly what you might think. But where people are getting excited is where when the market's been in a bull run, which is what it is now, November and December tends to be big months, and that's what the stats are saying. Now, if you look at it just plain, what happens in November, I don't know if there's enough of an edge there, but just based on the fact that we are in a bull market, and it just feels like the energy in the market is there, the excitement is back, and I think what I'm seeing across the board is the sentiment feels bullish. It doesn't feel like you've got that. Of course, that there can be a rug pull, like there can be manipulation, but it feels like we took the all-time high out in Bitcoin, and it kind of did what we said. We had the whole ETF craze, which is what I expected, as I was talking about last time we were on, or a couple of weeks ago, where the ETF was priced in, and I didn't think that was going to push the market higher. And in fact, people used the opportunity to take profit, because a lot of people bought at the very high, right? And it's the worst feeling. And so when you buy at the all-time high, what are you doing? You're kind of just saying, oh man, let it get, well, the wrong way of thinking, but let it get back this, I can get my money back. And so you naturally have that happen. So the market took the high out and then it's pulled back. But as we'll see when we open up the charts later in the show, the signs are very good for Bitcoin right now and the markets in general, because of the way that I'm kind of reading the price action, which I'll explain. But yeah, no, I have been for the last few weeks really just literally accumulating my favorite projects that I feel like are really skyrocket over the next few months. So I'm well positioned No hedge. I am long the markets, and I have a plan. I have a target that I want to hit, and we'll see what happens. But everything is kind of done with correct risk management, using the appropriate amount of margin. So yeah, I'm bullish in a nutshell.
So if you've been a regular viewer of this channel and of our live crypto show, I think that's the first time I've heard you say that since the summer months. So that is a good sign, because you're Mr. Responsible when it comes to risk, 100%, no doubt. And that's not a slight on you. Obviously, you're a professional trader. You have to be. That's how you make the big bucks. But that's the first time that I've heard you say that in a good few months, which is another little good sign.
Yeah, I think you've got to go on intuition, and also I think it's always a good exercise to look at the what people are saying on social media. It doesn't feel like when the market feels like it's gonna turn is when you see everybody saying, "Oh wow, it's going high, it's going high, it's going higher." But I'm not getting that feeling. I feel like it's quite neutral. I feel like there's like a good, I don't know what the word is, like a good appreciation of both sides, which is a good sign. That's kind of what you want to see. If you see everybody just saying, only the bullish side of things, that's kind of when you end up seeing market tops. And it just feels like right now you're seeing people saying, "Oh, but Bitcoin's not done anything for a few weeks. Not sure if it's going to go back down. Is it going to go back up?" That's kind of what you want to hear. You don't, because what you don't want is everybody to be long, because that's when the market can easily crash, and then you get all these people getting liquidated, and then you get a big push down. So from just the general sentiment, the feeling around what I'm seeing and reading, it feels like people are quite neutral as a whole, which is I think is a good thing. It's healthy for the market, and could lead to gains. Yeah.
Cool. Well, look, that's the top line. Obviously, we're going to do some live chart analysis, because where we are in the market, Andy's pretty keen to do Ethereum and Bitcoin. Obviously, if we've got time, there's some interesting news coming out on both. Just going to do a few more highs and shout outs. So we've got Andy live on Facebook. We've got Con with us as well, and another new viewer to the show, which is great. Now, if you're a new viewer, you probably don't know that I'm not very good with pronouncing names. Andy is a genius at pronouncing names. So I'll pass this one over to Andy to pronounce. Okay, I'll make you a deal. I'll do the surname, you do the first name.
His name's Nick. What's so hard about that?
Love it, mate. You dodged the bullet there. You got out of that one well. So Nick, good to have you with us. And we've got Anita just in time joining. And Raj has just slipped in through the back door as well. Good to have you all with us. So just a little bit of news. Really, really interesting news. So first of all, after last week, I don't know if anybody else has done this, but after Andy said about Axie, I looked at Axie a few months ago, but never ended up taking any action on it. I've kind of gone pretty balls deep into the whole gaming thing, looked at NFTs, and then the news came out that Facebook has decided to change their name to Meta. And obviously that's like the whole metaverse, then kind of just doing a whole bunch of research and seeing the whole gaming thing and NFTs and the metaverse within that, and just seeing what a level of the gaming is. There's play to earn, there's different types of gaming, right? And I'm sure some people are experts in it, but what's amazing is that people are playing to earn. Like people in the Philippines are earning what they would have they're earning more than they would in their jobs by playing crypto games. And I think we have got a fantastic opportunity as a collective to kind of do a big FU to the establishment and to the whole centralization of things, because there is more and more opportunities opening up. And we don't have to, I was saying this earlier today, we don't have to kind of be, "Oh, I'm investing in this, but I'm not telling you. I might tell Andy and then that's it." We don't have to be like that, right? There's enough for everybody to jump on board this. And with the new kind of the newbies and the retail guys, yes, they're having a bit of a play around with the meme coins because they don't know the difference right now. I had a guy come up to me, a friend of mine come up to me last weekend. He was like, oh, I've bunged quite a few grand into soooo. And I'm like, soooo? Isn't that a place in the Philippines? And he was like, oh yeah. I was like, what? It's a crypto coin. He was like, yeah, soooo. And I was like, soooo? And he was like, wait there. And he had to check. And he was like, Shibu. He doesn't even know the name. And he's put thousands and thousands of dollars on it. And I was like, okay, cool. Why did you get into that? And he was like, I just want to make some quick money.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, you know, look, at the end of the day, like I'm all for people taking advantage of opportunities to make money. You know, look, if in reality, I'm really happy about what's being built for our world. Like from a sort of like nostalgic point of view, I'm really happy with the way things are moving. But ultimately, you know, I think most of us will agree that we're in this to increase our wealth. And, you know, if there's an opportunity to buy something and you understand what you're buying and you understand what it is that you're trading or investing, then I'm okay with that, as I said that last time. But I think that's the problem is there, Gav, is like people are putting money into stuff that they really have no idea about. And they've got no real distinct plan. Like, you know, let me just buy it, right? Is it expensive? Is it at the, you know, where could it possibly go? What's my exit strategy? There's none of that. So what ends up happening is that, you know, people like that will lose money, and then they get scared of cryptos, and people then say, oh, cryptos are too dangerous, they're risky, they're it's not that, it's just that you don't understand them. And that's why, like, and I always say, you know, make asymmetric bets. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you want to own some Doge or some Shibu or some, you know, included in your general portfolio, that's fine. But make it small investments, like it's just part of your portfolio. And if people go crazy for something and, you know, it 100x's, even if it's completely worthless in terms of usability, well, you know, you've made money and that's fine. So, yeah, and that might be a sort of like a 360 or maybe what I've said in the past, because I'm not a big fan of holding these types of coins. But ultimately, if it makes you money, then, you know, who am I to argue with that?
Wise words, Mr. Demi. Got to do a few more shout outs. Mohmund's back in the house. Camille, another new name. Hello, everyone. And Nick is saying Nick is good. So you dodged a bullet there, mate. You did well.
See that? You have to use your improvise.
I like it, Andy. I like it, mate. So, one thing that I can feel, and a lot of kind of what's coming up for me at the moment, is there's so much choice. So, okay, so we want to do our research. We don't just want to buy these meme coins. Yes, I understand kind of it's a very intrinsic process to go through, look at the projects that you kind of vibe with, see what the fundamentals are, see what the TA, the technical analysis is, see what the charts are saying, where are their confluences. But at the end of the day, it just seems like the deeper you go into this, the more confusing it is. So, for example, the general gist of things, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, and you guys feel free to jump in as well if you're live and watching, which hopefully you are. It seems like Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're going to drive this next leg of the bull run up. Then once they kind of come away, the money's going to come out of that and they're going to go into the alts. Then you've got something along the lines of like different kind of alts. You've got L1s, you've got L2s, you've got Defi this, you've got Dapp that. And then maybe if you can time all of that, you might be able to get into NFTs and a subsection of NFTs and gaming, and then metaverse, really unique kind of projects. And it's like, bloody hell, like this is just information overload. Is there a more simpler way to kind of try and transverse this whole thing? Or is that, in your opinion, how you think that it's going to go as well?
Well, I mean, yeah, I completely get that. There's a lot of projects. There's a lot of research that needs to go into each project if you want to invest wisely. You know, if I'm being honest, Gavin, this is what I do. Like I spend my time researching and I enjoy the process. So it's really like a passion for me. Like I really want to kind of understand a project, like, and ideally I like to use it if I can. So as you know, I've been working on a lot of things in the background, learning different things like how and actually going in and using a project if I can. So like, you know, why is it, you know, why is this one useful? Like, you know, like when you test something, you just get to feel like, oh, wow, I can understand now why this project might go higher. And that's my preference. Now, you know, I mean, you can't do that for every project. It's really that simple. And what you need to do is you need to distinguish between the type of project it is, whether it's an established project, and whether it fixes a problem, whether there's like a niche, or is it just another competitor? In which case, you know, I kind of, you know, you mentioned layer ones, layer twos. You know, layer ones, it's I mean, those are the sort of projects that, you know, that essentially explode higher if they fix a problem, because then you have everybody else working on those layer one projects, which is really what you want, which means it basically means those become more valuable, right? So Ethereum now is the you know, it's the second most valuable coin because it's a layer one project and everybody else is built on there. Like a lot of most projects are built on the Ethereum network.
Yeah.
So it makes it extremely valuable. And then you have all these other layer one projects coming into the space. And I think personally, you'll have them all working together, possibly as competitors, but possibly solving different issues. Like there's an advantage there, possibly even, who knows? We've never seen this before, but could there be it's just something that came to me. Could there be partnerships in the future? Possibly. Who knows, right? There could be. So, you know, I think personally, you know, it's about trying to categorize and then deciding, right, which is low risk, which is medium risk, which is high risk, and then deciding how much you would want to invest in those types of projects, and really just take your time. I mean, like, yes, it's great to read all the white papers, and some of them are a bit complicated, right? But you know, as you know, we're going to be creating something in the next couple of weeks where I'm going to be delivering my research to people so that they can basically piggyback off what I'm doing. Because this is what I do. This is my job. I love doing it. And so if people are not interested in doing their own research, then obviously we can have them join us and essentially follow what we do. But in simple terms, yes, it can be a minefield, but you've just got to just invest slowly but surely. And the other thing you can do is the projects that you really think, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, which are, let's say, the safer cryptocurrencies, instead of keeping your money in sterling or in dollars, you can keep your money in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then do your research on the side. Like, take your time. If the markets explode higher, well, you've got some money in the markets, right? In the big ones. They're not going to 100x, but then you could do your research without that stress and pressure of feeling, oh my word, everything's going to go without me. And you say, oh, okay, I like that project. That looks really interesting. How about I just swap a little bit of my Bitcoin and I'll buy some of that? And you can kind of do it like that. That's a good idea. What I would recommend.
That's a really good idea. And Andy's saying, I think the difficulty for us non-professional investors is choosing which cryptos to hold long term. Is it genuinely a case of buy and hold in what you believe is a good project? I'm struggling to understand what is the best investment for the next 5-10 years. Now, I'll add a caveat onto that because, yes, we can, at the moment, it seems like we could just chuck money into Bitcoin and Ethereum. But like Andy said, they're the safest ones. They're going to give the least amount of returns potentially. To really get like these storybook endings with the 20x, 50x, 1000x, they're the ones that you're talking about that you've really got to dive deep into. Like Andy was telling me yesterday, there's this thing called bridging. So now there's where these bridging, so you've got these L1s, L2s, and then you've got these bridging coins, and then they're going to be the ones that actually shoot up. And I was like, well, bloody hell. It's like, all right, mate, calm down a little bit. I'm trying to catch you up here. I'm not a professional investor yet. So yeah, I guess that's kind of adding on to his question, which you've kind of answered. But yeah, do you just want to directly answer that question with that caveat in mind that I've just said?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways of approaching this. You can have the 5 to 10 year approach, and that is absolutely fine. For a lot of people, that's a really smart thing to do, just because, you know, I think like, I guess like, you know, if you're kind of in the markets like me, I personally wouldn't do that. Why? Because I'm literally on it all the time, right? I know what's going on. I know I'm looking, I'm managing stuff. I'm moving portfolio. I'm moving crypto positions. I'm deleveraging when the time is right. I'm reducing positions when the time is right. I'm increasing positions when the time is right. So this is my job. I love doing it, right? It's my passion. But if I wasn't doing that, the sensible thing to do is to find projects that you think are going to be changing the world over the next 4, 5 years, 10 years, right? As Andrew said there, and putting them in a wallet. And by the way, there's a various clever things that you can do, which I won't get into now, but like you can earn interest on your positions. You can make sure they're safe. You can borrow off the back of your positions. So like get a small credit line. There's so many clever little things that you can do. But just to keep this simple, store your coins and in projects that you believe are going to be, you know, changing the world in the next 5 to 10 years. Because if you think of it like this, if you struggle with your emotional control, you know, you're going to really struggle to be able to do the right thing when it's needed to be done, like without help, for sure. Like, so when the market's flying high and Bitcoin's at 100, 150, and your target was actually 100, and it's already at 150, and you're like, no, this is going to 200. That's what I've been reading. And now it's going to 250. And then bang, it's gone down to 110. And you're like, all right, let it go back to 150 and I'll take my profit. And now it goes down to 80. And you're like, and now you're just suffering, right? You can't handle that emotional roller coaster. Whereas if you just buy it, put it in a wallet, and then just every time, if you're working, put a little bit more, just deposit into your favorite projects, store them away, keep them safe. I'm telling you right now, you'll probably look in 5 years' time or 6 years' time, you're like, wow, what a smart thing I did. Yes, there were some bear markets, but I didn't care about those. I earned interest on my holdings, I stored them away, and slowly but surely, your money has grown substantially. Because now these projects are mainstream. People are paying with Bitcoin. People are, you know, doing various different things with other projects. And so for me, that's for most people, that would be the smart thing to do, in my opinion.
And I agree with that, but there's another part of me that wants to represent the other people here watching this that are like, Andy, we're in this is a bull run once every 4 years. There's going to be 50x's, 100x's, 20x's, 10x's. Like, it just feels weird to not be happy with just a 1x or a 2x these days. It's like, well, what can I do for the rest? Yes, there is a portion of your money that you can do that with, but there's also the other side of it, right? Where you can make some really good gains over the next like 3 months or 6 months or whatever, depending upon how the market chooses to act, whether we go up. And like you say, it then comes back down, cleans people out, takes their money, and then everybody's like, oh, wow, I should have just taken that and taken my profits. But there is an opportunity, just to set it clear for people that aren't sure, there is going to be opportunities to do more than just sit and wait for 5 years, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, the markets they move in cycles, and yes, like I guess, like, you know, trying to predict the cycles is not as difficult as people might think. I think the biggest thing is dealing with the emotional side, whether that's gaining or losing, and that's the thing. So as long as you can control that, a real easy plan for people is, you know, if you invest, I don't know, whatever you invest, and your money doubles or triples, you know, one thing you can do is you can take some profit and park some money on the side and wait for the dip. You know, taking profit is okay. Like, you have to at some point, like if Bitcoin reaches 100, I think, you know, if it might be prudent to take some profit across the board. I'm not saying it can't go higher. I think it can. I think it can go much higher even on this current run, especially the way it's acting right now. But you know, if you start to take profit, what you're doing actually is you are reducing your emotional attachment to those gains that you have, because you're slowly but surely putting it back into your bank, and you can earn interest on that as well if you keep it within the crypto space. Even just having fiat, you can earn up to 12% interest. So, which is incredible, right? So, you know, so it's doing what feels right for you. Like, I'm naturally somebody a bit more, I guess, a bit more active, a bit more aggressive, you might say, in terms of trying to maximize my return. But that's not for everybody. So it really depends on your personality. So, you know, you can do it in both ways. But for people that just want to take advantage of this, but they're working, they don't have the time for research, and they don't have the time to be active, you know, that's where you know, you could potentially do, you know, what Andrew suggested. So it really depends on how involved you want to be, I guess.
Cool. And then Camille, she's new to this. I'm guessing it's a she. Apologies if you're a he. They're new to this, which means that you're already ahead of all the other newbies, because you're asking a great question here. Instead of just jumping into the memes and all of those type of coins, you're actually doing some research. So it's great to have you here. What's layer 1 and layer 2? So we'll just give a top line, and then we'll go into some Ethereum. And by the way, I kind of just brushed over that, but 12% return, like that is what's reserved for the elites of this world in the banks. No wonder those guys are so filthy rich. And now this is why I'm so excited about cryptos and so passionate, because the playing field is slowly but surely, or very fast, depending on which way you look at it, the playing field is being leveled fantastically for us guys. And that just kind of warms my heart that we've all got the same opportunities.
And just to add to it as well, what's incredible is that you are able to just, you know, you can borrow, you can get a credit line immediately. There's no credit checks. There's no, you know, you've got assets. That's good enough for me. That's kind of like the approach. So you could just go and say, yeah, okay, I'll borrow a little bit here. I need to, you know, buy something, or I need to invest in something. And it's incredible. Like, this is the new space, and this is like, you know, banks, if they don't adjust, they will become obsolete, in my opinion. But anyway, we won't go into that. I'll answer the question. Layer 1 and layer 2. Go on, you're going to say something?
I was just going to say, maybe it's starting to become clearer for people that aren't sure why banks and those guys were a bit slow to jump on the bandwagon, should we say?
Yeah, because they are crooks.
We were just starting to do well on YouTube and Facebook, and now you've just tanked us down the rankings again. Cheers, mate.
No, yeah. Well, you shouldn't ask me these questions.
I didn't ask you a question. I just surmised it with a rhetorical question, but thank you for filling in the gap. So back to L1s and L2s.
Yes, Camille. So yeah, great question. So, you know, the best example of layer 1 is is what we have mentioned before, is something like Ethereum, where it's a network where other people can just go and build on top of it. So it's a little bit like what most people would understand is like Windows, right? Microsoft Windows. That's kind of like a layer one, and then you've got, you know, things that work within Windows would be your layer twos. So without layer one being there, the layer twos can't work. So in essence, they are using these to build on top of, and Ethereum is like the top one because it was first to market, but also you know, it's the one that, well, it's got the biggest market capitalization, and it's also got the most amount of users. So it's stood the test of time, and even though it has some limitations, it's still the number one, layer one. But then you've got something like Cardano and Polkadot and Solana that are basically now competing to be number one. In that
they're like
space.
the blue chips. They're like the blue chips, aren't they? So they're kind of like the tried and tested now.
Exactly that. And I guess the sort of unanswered things is, can they all coexist? Are they solving the same problem? Are they competitors? And there's kind of pros and cons to, like, there's arguments for and against that. But then if you take something like Bitcoin, that isn't a layer one. It's just a currency, right? It's just a currency. So that one, so if you actually think about it, Ethereum is much more powerful than Bitcoin in many respects, because Bitcoin is just a digital currency, right? Ethereum has so many use cases, and like it opens the door to multiple use cases because it's other projects building on top of it. So it's like, you know, and it's so powerful. So that's why layer ones are, you know, if you are successful and you are number one, you're going to, you know, these are going to go much higher than the layer two projects, which are a bit more risky.
Cool. So look, let's jump into, and yeah, just hopefully that answers your question. It starts to give you a bit of an idea. So like we said, the Solanas, the Polkadots, the Cardano's an interesting one, because I'm still on the fence with those guys, because I think there's better projects. They still haven't got a proof of anything actually working as far as smart contracts, and now people are starting to overrun them. But they could come back quite well. And interestingly, we'll jump into the charts now in Ethereum. So Andy, if you want to get that up, I'll just kind of fill in this space. Ethereum, we've got Ethereum 2.0 coming out next summer. There's kind of a bit of talk around the internet that if we can keep this bull run going until next summer, and then we just keep going up through, then that's going to be huge. Or we get this massive spike down, we get a massive top, and then we get a massive spike down, and then people have got an opportunity to get back in. But Ethereum have started burning coins. There's going to be less Ethereum in the market. Just, it's great for you to do your research on how many things Ethereum actually touches, which is going to be quite interesting. And another couple of questions that have come in. Julie saying, Andy Demi, what's your biggest bag for this run?
Well, I've got a lot of bags. I've been shopping. I've got, if my biggest holding is Ethereum out of all the projects, but that's based on risk. So it's not necessarily, I don't think it's going to be the biggest winner. I think, but there's some other projects that I've got a lot of that come close to what I've got in Ethereum. But Ethereum is my biggest holding because I see it as a coin that's still undervalued compared to where it can be, and I think it's going to be the next $1 trillion coin. It's already halfway there. So yeah, so that's my. But I do own Bitcoin. I do own various other projects, 60 or 70 of them, to be precise. But the biggest one is Ethereum for me. I'd be surprised if we don't if we don't hit 10K soon. So like, you know, and I think that's, you know, we're at 4 at the moment. It's only a 2.5x, but not even. But it's kind of like invested in a safe place, and I'm earning interest in it as well.
Nice. So with that being said, let's jump in to the analysis. So we're going to do a breakdown of Ethereum, Andy's biggest Andy's biggest bag. Let's go with this and see what you're predicting for Ethereum over the next 7 hours to 7 days, and then let's do a projection, because we're seeing a lot of crazy numbers being spoken about out there about Ethereum, like your crazy lines for people that don't know. So give us the juicy magic, mate. Where is Ethereum headed?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do that. So what we've got on here, we've got our envelope, we've got our 50 and 200 EMAs, and we'll just take a quick look. So the first thing is you know, we want to know where the previous all-time high was sitting, which is around here. And you can see that the market tried to break through here, it failed, and then eventually it has broken through. So now we're kind of into new territory right now, right? So one of the sort of cool tools that you can use to identify potential projections is the Fibonacci, because that can give you a potential target that we can go for. So I will use Fibonacci in just a moment to see where the next kind of cycle might complete. The one thing to also note is the volume. So the volume is not bad on this breakout. Okay, it's not bad at all. You know, we kind of had this rejection and then an engulfing. So we had two good buying, you know, two good buying bars there of volume. So you can see the volume was quite high, definitely above average. And then we've consolidated really, really nicely, and it's just exactly what you want to see on a breakout. Because of course, it can still be a fake out, but it doesn't look like it to me. It looks like a real break. Push up, consolidation, nice little retest of the breakout, and it just looks like now we're starting to try and push a bit higher. So let's see if we can come up with some Fibonacci projections. Let's see where the next cycle is and where it might pull back for a potential swing setup. So let me see where the I'm going to attempt to use the Fib tool just to make this a bit quicker, rather than trying to do it all manually. And we'll start it from about here. What level is that? 1404. So,
guys, just while Andy's doing that, if you are really keen to get into crypto trading, we have got some free extended training. Yes, there is a professional education choice at the end of it, but you're going to learn so much value about what Andy uses, what's in his toolbox, what are some of the professional trading tools he's using, how to put 3 or 4 different things together so that you can really start attacking this crypto market during this bull run. So I'll post the link towards the end of the show, and then you can just get it in the comments. So yeah, hopefully that filled in that gap that you were doing the fibs. How are they looking, mate?
Yeah, nice. So I'll just kind of highlight where we are and where we might go next. Let me just get my pen up. So we'll use this pen because it's easy to get rid of. So as most people know, the markets move in these kind of cycles, and you know, this market right now has pulled back to its 50% Fibonacci, which gives us a projection of the 1618. So if we just kind of take a look at that right now, the 1618 is exactly 5,000. Believe it or not, it's exactly 5,000, and we know that's a real psychological level. Okay, so there's two ways this can go, Gavin and everybody. If we are just doing a normal move up, what we would expect the market to do is now to move up to 5,000, to then retrace, and then to then continue up to the next cycle. Okay, that's basically in a nutshell what you'd expect. And if we just do a couple of things here, if we connect the trend line here, okay, there's a channel line there. You can kind of use that across here as well. You will see that if I just get rid of this, if this market was to go a little bit parabolic, you might be able to see it's a little bit faint there, but this one here is our overextension. Okay, this is what I'm about to say and teach is a little bit more advanced, but for those that understand it, it can be really, really powerful. So this is an overextension. So the crypto markets can go parabolic. So even though in a normal cycle, the market, you'd expect it to pull back at 5,000. What can happen is, you know, people get excited and then it goes over the predicted target. And so it does something like this and runs really, really fast and goes to the overextension, which brings us into about 5,000, 5.5, 5.4, 5.5, somewhere there, right? If it goes up like that. If that happens, here's what I would expect to happen. This is what will happen most of the time, right? So you might want to make a note of this. So in a normal move, you'd expect it to go up here, pull back, go create another cycle. In a parabolic move, and if it explodes higher and doesn't stop at 5,000, expect it to go to about here. We also have our upper envelope there. So expect it to go to about 5.5. What will most likely happen is it will pull back to 5,000 and then buyers will flood in here. And then the market will go much, much higher. That's a real possibility of how this market's going to move. The first easy thing to do is to try and get yourself up to a trade that will bank you money up to 5,000. That's kind of if you put your trading hat on, that's what you should be looking for. You should be looking for that move there. And you can use the lower time frames, the way we teach you on our trading course, to get in and to trade that up towards that 5,000 mark. But yeah, that's really what I'm looking at. And if I just kind of give you a projection, if we are going to do let's do the parabolic scenario, you'd be looking at basically a move that will take us potentially to kind of like these sort of levels, between, so it'll be something like this, guys. Push up, pull back, and then I'd expect this line to break, and then possibly like you go to the next overextension to bring you up close to about 7K. So I think that the next move within the next 7 days, I think will be between 5 and 5.5. And then I think following on from that, I'd expect something like that to happen, for the next move to be roughly around 7K.
Nice. So yeah, that's from a trading point of view. And also, if people have got a bit of spare cash and they're still working where to put it and allocate it, then what you're saying earlier on in the show goes well for this, right? You can just put it in maybe now and ride this little bit up. Yeah, you're not going to get anything major, but you're going to get maybe like a 20 to a 50% gain, right? Which is better than just leaving it in the bank or in your crypto wallet whilst you're deciding what to do next.
Yeah, and in terms of the gain, it really depends on a lot, as you know. Like it depends on, you know, where you put your stop, you know, how you use leverage in a clever way. maximize those gains. So if you time the market really well, you could easily make, you can make 10% on this trade, without risking a lot, because you're timing the market really well. So if this was about to explode high and you figured out, you could get into this with a really tight stop, you've definitely got, 5-6 to 1 at least up to there. So there's, it really depends on how you trade it. But for those that just want to invest, like you said, there's plenty to be made in even just a short move like that.
Yeah. So if you were to just put it in spot, which is the safest option, during this period of time, they could just do that whilst they're deciding where to allocate funds. Exactly
that. That makes a lot of sense in my opinion. So, if you've got lots of cash sitting in dollars, you've got to think, what's going to do better, Ethereum or dollars. It's the likelihood is it's not going to be dollars, especially if you're happy to hold within a sort of 2-3 month period. It's highly unlikely that Ethereum will be lower than where we are now. And in the meantime, you could be researching other projects. And if you feel like it's worth moving some of that cash over, you can do a swap, with your BTC and your Ethereum holdings.
Yep. The only way that you're going to get better than that with dollars is maybe if you know someone that's going to give you a bit of a shareholding in the Fed Reserve and their printing machine. But we've got cryptos now. So again, a level playing field. So look, that's really, really great information on Ethereum. So just to reiterate, your prediction for the next 7 hours to 7 days. So we're looking now, we've hit the C on that Fibonacci. We're now looking to complete to the D, which is 5,000, but it could go a bit more parabolic, which means that we could go to the upper channel there, which would take us up to 5.5. So that's about a 20-25% gain if you're thinking in terms of spot. Obviously, if you're able and you've got the chops for the trading, then you could be making like a 6 or 7 to 1 out of that. Is that fair to?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, cool. So with that being said, let's jump into the behemoth that is not just a currency, because I think, yes, cryptocurrency, clue is in the name, Bitcoin and all that jazz. But actually now how it's kind of morphed, because it's been kind of suppressed as that currency machine that it probably will be. But now it's just becoming very, very clear that Bitcoin is just a massive, massive store of value against the kind of more traditional mainstream tools like the dollar, right?
Yeah. And, right now there's a lot of, well, it has been the case for a little while now, but there's a lot of talk of an imminent crash in the stock market. And, there will be people that will be taking their money out already. The smart money will be taking their money out. And, what are they going to do with it? They're going to put it into cash? Most likely not. They're probably going to be buying Bitcoin. So you might see, as the S&P 500 starts to drop, you might see Bitcoin actually get a real spike up. And that's what can sometimes cause those parabolic moves as people move money. Because remember, the stock market has been going up for 2 decades, and people have made a lot of money, and that's new money now that could come into the crypto space. And in particular, most likely people that have been investing in the stock market and haven't moved it over to crypto, they're not, let's say, the riskiest of investors. So the likelihood is that, are they going to go and buy, small altcoins, or are they going to put it into Bitcoin? Most likely they're going to put it into Bitcoin and Ethereum probably. So you could see some new money coming into the space as well, as the market, as the stock market is very, very overinflated.
Really interesting point. I was reading an article actually about that said and it's not going to happen overnight, but if everybody pulled their money from the stock market, at least disposable money, the crypto market would go up to at least 100 trillion. I think even more. And we're predicting maybe at the end of this bull run, if it hits 10 trillion, because it's at 2.5 right at the moment. So we're looking at possibly a 4x. But if people started taking out more money from the stock market, then we'd be looking at easily over 100 trillion.
Yeah, that's very, very, like you said, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think you just got to look at all these things as possible scenarios. That's going to not necessarily happen right now, but if you get a move in Bitcoin higher and it kind of stalls, sometimes you need that new money to come in to just stimulate another push higher. So, the chances are if Bitcoin hits 100, there's going to be headlines coming out that people are predicting it to go to 250,000. That's just what happens. So, and because it just becomes a new target. Why are we talking about 100,000? Why not 93? It's because it's just the next obvious milestone, the way humans think. But realistically, 110 or 93 versus 100, people just think of 100. So then you immediately think, 250,000. And then after that, you might be thinking 1 million. So, but it is what it is. So let's look at the charts, guys. Here's the thing that let me add an indicator on here as well that I think could be useful, so we can see where we are on the stock RSI.
So just while Andy's loading that up, if you're new to the show or this segment of the show, this is where we give our Bitcoin price prediction with former hedge fund trader, Mr. Andy Demi. What is likely to happen between the next 7 hours and the next 7 days on the journey that is Bitcoin to its destiny? What is going to be happening next, Mr. Andy?
So this is really, really bullish. So for people that have been kind of watching Bitcoin thinking it's not moving anywhere, right? And you're thinking, oh man, is it going to go down? Maybe you even bought some here, right? Thinking it's breaking higher, and it's not, it's not moving, and you might even be slightly down on your position, potentially. Here's the thing that you need to look at here. That's important. Market, pushes higher, breaks its all-time high, and what can sometimes happen is breaks its all-time high, and then the market, it's almost like that fake out, and then all these kind of institutional guys who manipulated people then sell it off, and then the market goes lower, and then everybody panics, gets stopped out, and you get this kind of big move, and then the market then reverses. It kind of feels a little bit like what happened here, right? Where you had these highs, it broke out, big bearish bar, and then the market went lower, and now it's kind of back here. That's kind of typical. What I really like about what's happening here is we've had a really strong move up. Okay, we have what's called a super shallow pullback in Fibonacci terms. That basically means it hasn't pulled back much. And then we go and hit our sort of 144 fib fade area. It's called a fade area, right? So there's an area where 9 times out of 10 the market will pull back. Okay, it will pull back to this kind of zone here. What I really, really like here is that the fact that we've gone up so fast, the fact that we've broken its all-time high and then come back, the market has not retraced. What's it done instead? So look at the stochastic RSI. We get to this position here, and the market is holding and holding and holding, building up energy, whilst the stochastic RSI is going to its oversold here, and it comes oversold. So anything under 20 is oversold, and then look how it's now crossing back above 20, whilst Bitcoin has basically been taking a breather. In terms of price action alone, in any normal market, you'd be saying that is exactly what you want to see for a breakout. So right now, the only thing that probably is slightly missing, but sometimes you get it once it actually goes, is volume. Like volume is not quite there. But what I would advise the guys that know what they're doing is to go onto the lower time frames and pick up on volume spikes on the lower time frame. Don't wait. If you're not in Bitcoin and you just want that real confirmation that it's about to go now, I would go to the lower time frames and look for a volume spike on an hourly chart or a 4-hour chart, because once you see that volume kick in on the lower time frames, you don't want to kind of wait until the daily bar closes, because if the daily bar does that, well, now you're like, oh, okay, I've missed the move. Whereas if you see that beforehand, you might be able to get in before it actually goes. So that's just like a pro tip. Now, so as I said, this is really, really bullish. And what you associate with something like this is where you get an overextension. So the market, if it doesn't pull back to its expected, 38.2 fib, we would expect the market to overextend. And I think, look, you can see we have a really nice upper channel. We've got a nice envelope. We've got the 200 here. So I would like to think, if I box this up, that there's a strong chance that Bitcoin is getting ready to do this. And I think we could be in this vicinity possibly in the next 7 days. So I think we could be up here between 80 and 84K if this scenario plays out.
What's interesting, sorry, mate, go on.
No, that's all. Yeah, go ahead, mate.
I was just about to say, so if you look at the charts comparison and the ROI, but just between Ethereum and Bitcoin, if you're new to this, you'll be surprised, because actually Ethereum's given a better return on investment. But now, just like for like, we're looking at about that 20-25% move for either one, whether you're going for Ethereum or Bitcoin, is what we're saying over these last two live chart analysis, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the fact that, I think in terms of the next run, yes, I think they could move equally. I still think that overall, I think Ethereum might give the better return. Like if you were to buy both and hold them until the end of the year, I would put the horse I would back would be Ethereum to win, until the end of the year. So if you said to me, look, Andy, choose right now, what's going to perform better, Ethereum or Bitcoin? If I've got £1,000 or $1,000 to put in, I would say Ethereum would win that race, because I think it's still got more growth than Bitcoin. It's got a lot of catching up to do. And I think actually we could see a scenario, for the reason I said at the beginning of the show, where one day Ethereum has maybe Ethereum's going to be number one, and it's going to take over Bitcoin at some point.
Yeah, you can see it with a lot of, definitely. Even like you look into the NFT space and it's all about fusing Ethereum and gaming and NFTs. But the best ones are going to be the ones that utilize the Ethereum tech and protocol. There's a lot being said around that. So I could get behind that for sure. Just from that alone, looking at gaming and NFTs, let alone everything else that you said earlier on in your breakdown about Ethereum. And that's why your biggest holding is in Ethereum, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good balance between, potential for growth, but also controlling risk. You're not going to have Ethereum for you could have a smaller project, die, basically. It can go to zero, or it can drop 90%. With the more established coin, of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum, we've seen them drop 50%, 60%, whatever, but they're just much more, they're much more likely to be stable in any pullbacks. And that's what I kind of like. So it's about having a balance for me. So putting him in a project that I think has got a lot of growth, but it's already really, really well established. I like that idea, but I also think, as I've always said, diversify into smaller projects that can 100x, 200x, 1000x, because that well-balanced portfolio is going to really help, and it's going to help you get the kind of returns that you need. If you put all your money into Bitcoin and Ethereum, unless you've got millions, you're not going to make life-changing money because they're already super big already. So a 5x return or a 3-4x return isn't going to be life-changing if you've only got, 500 or 1,000 to invest.
Exactly that. And like I said at the beginning, that's really kind of what is blowing my mind. If you want to get those big gains, then that's where you've got to do the research. It does take time. You can definitely do it by yourself. But if you want to try and catch it in this bull run, we are bringing a new product out. Hopefully by next week. There's still a lot to do, but we were going to wait until the end of the month. But we just think with the bull run going off now, we're going to try our best to get it out for you as soon as possible, because you could make quite a lot of money before the end of the month's out. And in crypto world, a month is like a year, isn't it?
It certainly is. It certainly is. And I think, and that's why we're kind of really working hard behind the scenes to get it out there for people. And hopefully we'll have something to announce next week. And I think, for people that have been asking us for this for a long time, we finally have to deliver for the people.
Exactly. Just before we go, because I saw Stephen yesterday, and I know you're new. Hi, Andy. About 3 weeks ago, you said that you thought Atom would 3x. Talking of great projects, that's definitely one of them. Do you think it's still going to happen?
Yeah, I do. I think that's the minimum that I would expect. I think it will do a lot more in the future. But in terms of if we're looking at there, say a 2x in Bitcoin, maybe a 2.5x in Ethereum, I think you get a 3x minimum in Atom. I think it's very, very undervalued. But there's a lot of other projects similar to this. But even at the current prices, I've been buying it a lot cheaper. I bought it on the pullback. I bought it at $17, $18. But would I buy it now at $37 odd? Yes, I would definitely buy it now, even if I didn't own it.
Interesting. Normally we would go, but this is really interesting. By the way, Raj is saying she can't wait for the information about the new product. Andy's saying, can you just give us a bit more info regarding the new product? I say no, but Andy, you're the head chief, so it's up to you. Whilst you think about answering that question, this is a great question from Andy as well. Atom or Link? Really, really good question.
Ooh.
I think that's a toss-up, don't you?
You know what? They're both. You could. Where's Link? I don't know off the top of my head. Where's Link in the market cap? It's a super project. Well.
I think it's at top 30, but there's a lot. There's a lot of what it's saying.
Yeah. I wonder where it is relative to Atom. Do you know where it is?
Off the top of my head, I don't know where it is. I don't know where the market cap is to Atom.
Yeah, if I had to choose one, I'd say Atom because I think it's still underappreciated. Whereas Link, I think, has been around.
Raj is on it. 32.23 for Link.
We need
the market cap. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. I'll tell you where's Link. No, see, Link is number 14, and Atom is number 24. In terms of market cap, and I'm not showing you my screen, guys, but market cap, Link is 14 billion, Atom is 8 billion. So Atom is almost half the price. So Atom.
So you've got another 1x in there basically on top of whatever Link does. So if Link does a 2 or a 3x, then you'd be looking at Atom to give that extra 1 on top of that because it's got more room to move. Exactly. So I guess, I guess with regards to Andy's question, I kind of want to answer it just like a little 20-second elevator answer, which is imagine like what Andy's saying. Imagine that you could structure your investment holding. So if you've got even 5 grand or 10 grand, instead of just putting it in like a flat line of all of these portfolio, imagine if you had a mix of low risk, medium risk, and then you knew some really good high risk projects that have the potential to 30x, 50x, 100x. You're going to bring all of your portfolio up way more than you would have done just by doing what 90% of the rest of the market's going to do. Or they're going to try and catch one move, pull it out of Bitcoin, then they're going to try and catch L1s, then they're going to pull it out, then they're going to try and catch DeFi, then they're going to try and catch NFTs. and then they're just going to end up making themselves crazy and probably lose everything. So that would be my kind of way to get you guys excited for when we announce next week. Imagine if there was someone doing all of this for you and you had low, medium, and high risk projects that would give you a combined kind of really great return on your portfolio in the 10s to 20s to 30x's. Yeah, that's what I would say to that. How would you answer that question, Andy?
Yeah, no, I mean, the biggest thing is like, I know people don't have the time to research, and this is, I spend most of my waking hours doing this, like researching, finding great projects, also finding the best time to buy them when I think they're going to explode higher. So it's essentially just giving you that information, giving you that research, showing you how I would be investing my money and how to split your portfolio up into groups. And, essentially, these smaller projects, you have to really, really understand them, and a lot of work goes into that. And I appreciate most people don't have that time. So we've had a lot of requests for this, for people that just don't want to be trading, but just want to kind of take advantage of the markets essentially, and being able to sort of piggyback what a professional does. And essentially, I will be sharing within this program how to do various different things, like to maximize your returns, how to keep your coins safe, how to earn interest in them, and then most importantly, the projects that I believe could, anything from 3 or 4x to 100x plus. So a lot of my smaller projects, that is my minimum target for them. Like 100x would be my minimum target, because a lot of workers, and if they fulfill their potential, there will be more than 100x. That's why you need to take small uniform bets, and would obviously make suggestions as to what you should be putting into each coin based on how much money you are willing to risk. And by splitting the risk up, within those gems, there will be some that are just going to be explosive. And really that's it. So, but we'll share everything next week, guys. We're working really hard in the background to really help people make more money from cryptos. And we did have a plan to launch this at the end of the month, but me and Gav spoke and we said, look, the markets could go now, and we want people to be ready, prepared, and give people a chance to really make money now, rather than waiting and we've missed a big move, and then you've got to sit through things a bit longer. So that's why I am not sleeping a lot. I am recording and doing following Gavin's orders to get this ready. So we'll let you know next week.
Yeah, you can sleep afterwards when everybody's thanking us for making some X's on their portfolio. So look, guys, that's everything from us. Thank you very much for tuning in. All these questions, we'll have to keep all your questions until next week, or you can message us directly. Maybe we can create a list or something, but we will make sure to answer your questions, and maybe we'll just jump on a couple of lives for anybody that wants to kind of chat about it, and then we'll give you a bit more information. So look, I know you've got to go, mate, so we're 8 minutes over the hour. I could stay talking about cryptos. I know you could as well, because you live and breathe it. This is what we do, people. Crypto Like a Pro, with me, Gavin, the host, and the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Andy Demi. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. Please do us a favor, hit the like button before you leave. It's very rude and it hurts our feelings. Don't laugh. I'm trying to be serious.
Yeah,
we've got 5 likes. Come on, guys.
Yeah, they know that they don't know that I cry after the show.
He does, actually. He does. So, we're up to 7. Thank you very much. And Slav, you don't avoid that either. Hit us a like, give us a thumbs up on the YouTube. Thank you, guys. We're out. See ya.